I don't know if anybody had this idea yet, but if not, here's a $1 million idea for you. If anyone wants to spearhead, I don't have the time. I would do it, but I'm already, I got multiple podcasts. I'm running for Congress. I don't have a lot of free time. But here's what you do. Take all of these ICE arrest videos, right? All the videos of ICE agents arresting lunatic liberals, all the lunatic liberals that are getting arrested, the Antifa terrorists who are getting dragged down by ICE agents, who are getting hauled away by ICE agents in Portland and other parts of the country. Take all those people. Take the videos of the ICE agents tear gassing them and shooting those pellets out of the I don't know what they're called. They're called like smoke pellets or nasty pellets, or I don't even know what they are. But they shoot them out of like a paintball gun, and they go poof, 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 and it causes this smoke. It's really incredible. I want to use some on my neighbor's cat. But anyway, that's what I would take all those videos, and I would just create a news network where you just roll them 24/7, man, because they are just incredible, aren't they? I love here's one. Here's 3 ICE agents hauling a guy away. It almost looks like he's been injured in battle, and then the other ICE agents, they walk in with their guns and people are throwing stuff at him. And then this one ICE agent, he loads up he's making sure that he's locked and loaded. And he's like, yeah, we're good to go. And then they just show the crowd angry and screaming and yelling. I mean, I would watch this all day. There's something about these ICE agents that are just fascinating to watch. And they, you know what it is? It's the lack of caring. They just don't care. It's like, we got a job to do. We're here to make America great again. And they're all over the place. They're all over the place. They're in Portland, Oregon. They're in all these other municipalities. They're taking out Antifa. They're like, look, if you guys are going to try to sit here and block the road or attack there's some, by the way, I can't. There's some I can't play because there's lots of wordy dirts. Here's another one getting just hauled away. It's just, it's so satisfying. They used to have videos on TikTok. I don't know if they still do, but they were called Oddly Satisfying. And it was stuff like, people carving soap or, ice cream, soft serve ice cream coming out of the soft serve ice cream container. And people would say, oh, this is oddly satisfying. I get odd satisfaction by watching these ICE people take out the Antifa terrorists. I find that, I don't know what it is. Maybe that's just me. It can't just be me. But whenever I see one of these videos posted on X, I'm like, oh yeah, give me some popcorn. I would watch that all day. And ICE, by the way, they're in boats now. They have ICE boats. They got ICE boats and Border Patrol boats, and they're in Chicago, and they're going up and down the river, which is already looks green. I don't know if it's early for St. Patrick's Day or leftover from St. Patrick's Day, but that Chicago River looks mighty green for a river that's not celebrating any kind of major holiday. But anyway, listen, I digress. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope everyone had a fantastic weekend, and it's good to be back. Good to be back home. Good to be back in the driver's seat. Good to be back in charge at Mark K Saves the Republic, the podcast that you love so much. And thank you so much for downloading and subscribing. If you haven't downloaded and subscribed, I don't know what you're waiting for. You should probably do that. If you're listening to this channel or watching us on YouTube or Rumble or X or any of those platforms where we like to broadcast every single day, make sure you're setting those notifications, man. Make sure you are liking. Make sure you're liking and posting and doing all those other things, and make sure that you tell this platform, I want more Mark K Saves the Republic, because that's where I'm going to get. That's where I'm going to get all my news, like the best news. I mean, it's bad news, but it's the best of the bad news. And like someone said long ago, we make bad news sound good. And that is something that we're working. That's something that we're striving on. Coming up in just a minute, we got to talk about this Bad Bunny person. This Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny. I'll be honest with you. I thought Taylor Swift was going to be singing at the Super Bowl, but apparently it's Bad Bunny. And if you don't know who Bad Bunny is, don't worry. Most normal people have no idea who Bad Bunny is. I know who Bad Bunny is, but that's because I'm abnormal. Also, I worked in music radio for much longer than I'd wanted to. But Bad Bunny is a Puerto Rican pop rap type star who does not sing in English and, hates the United States of America. And that's the person that the NFL sought. They chose the NFL. I don't know what their deal is, man. I thought they were going the right way. I thought the woke, was kind of purged. We got the whole end racism or fight hate off of the back of the helmets. I thought we got it off the end zones, although I think it's still on a couple of them. We got all the wokeness, I thought, out. No one's taking knees anymore. They're all standing for the national anthem. I haven't heard lift every voice and sing in a while either, so that was kind of a positive. But apparently they're like, you know what? Maybe they felt like it was too far. Maybe they were like, you know what? We got rid of all this woke. We got to throw a little bit more woke in there. So what can we do at the Super Bowl? Oh, I know. Let's find somebody who refuses to sing in English and who hates the United States of America, and let's platform them. That's exactly what they're doing with Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny was announced yesterday at halftime during the Dallas Cowboys Green Bay Packers game. There's not two more American teams than Dallas Cowboys and Green Bay. And one of them is actually called America's Team. Jerry Jones, who owns the Green Bay Packers, who owns the Dallas Cowboys, is a Trump supporter, is very, very conservative guy himself. And while his team was, I guess it was at halftime, so his team was winning at halftime, while his team was in the locker room, and the NFL announced that Bad Bunny, who hates the United States of America, hates Donald Trump, hates ICE agents, hates law and order, loves illegal immigration. That guy is going to be spotlighted at the Super Bowl during the halftime show. Really weird announcement. I don't know why. The Green Bay Packers, fun fact, the Green Bay Packers, the only team in the United States of America that's owned by the citizens of Green Bay. The only team that's owned by the city that it resides in. I can't imagine the folks in Green Bay, and I know a lot of them. I mean, I don't know them personally, but I know who they are. I know what their morals are. I know what their character is. I can't believe a lot of them would be thrilled about the choice of Bad Bunny as the Super Bowl halftime performer, especially since Bad Bunny was announced during their game. But look, if you don't know who Bad Bunny is, here's Bad Bunny in his own words discussing how much he hates America.
I'm never performing in the U.S. again.
Okay, now let's start right now. I know what you're thinking. Wait a minute. Isn't the Super Bowl in the U.S.? Yes, it is. It's in San Francisco, which last time I checked is in the United States of America. I mean, it's in California, but they're still part of the U.S. Anyway, I digress. Here's the rest of Bad Bunny's explanation of why he hates the United States.
I'm never performing in the U.S. again. I'm scared that ICE might raid the venue outside my show. And honestly, I can't risk the safety of my fans like that. Mainland America just doesn't feel necessary to me anymore.
Mainland America doesn't feel necessary to me anymore. He's from Puerto Rico, by the way. So he calls this mainland. This is mainland America, and Puerto Rico is where he's from. And he goes, mainland America doesn't seem necessary to me anymore because, get this, I'm afraid of ICE agents raiding my fans outside of concerts. Did you hear that part? That was very important. That was a very important part. Here, let me play that for you one more time, just so you truly understand what's going on here. What's going on with Bad Bunny?
I'm never performing in the U.S. again. I'm scared that ICE might raid the venue outside my show. And honestly, I can't risk the safety of my fans like that.
Okay, so what Bad Bunny's saying is he knows his fans are illegals. He knows his fan base are illegal criminal thug aliens. He knows illegal aliens and criminals and gang members and people who came to this country without visas, people who walked across the border illegally, people who shouldn't be here, people who are probably going to get deported if they're caught by ICE. Those are his fans. That's his fan base. That's who he's singing to. That's who he's performing for. And he can't risk his fans getting deported. So he's no longer going to perform in the United States of America because he knows all of his illegal fans are going to get targeted by ICE. I mean, I'll be honest with you. It's conviction in a weird sort of way.
America just doesn't feel necessary to me anymore. I've already performed there plenty of times. Fans in the U.S. have had lots of chances to see me live. That being said, I still care deeply about my Latino and Puerto Rican fans living in the States. Seeing me perform in Puerto Rico is always an option. That's why in my upcoming world tour, there are no stops in the continental U.S.
Okay, so this guy hates the United States so much. This guy, Bad Bunny, is so fed up with ICE, so fed up with Donald Trump, does not want his fans to get arrested, that he's wiped the United States off the board. He thinks he can sustain the kind of lifestyle that he has. And he's rich. Look, don't get me wrong. He's rich. He's famous. He's highly paid. People like his music, even though it's all in Spanish and half of us can't understand it. But he thinks he can sustain his lifestyle just by performing in Puerto Rico. And he thinks all of his fans, all of his illegal immigrant fans, are going to go back to Puerto Rico to see his concert. That's where he's going to be. He's only going to perform in Puerto Rico. Now, I don't know if he understands how many people there are in the United States of America, but there's about 330 million. I don't know how many there are in Puerto Rico, but I know it's not 330 million. So he says, I'm not going to perform there anymore. I'm so sorry. I've taken the United States. Mainland America is off the list. You can't see Bad Bunny there anymore, except during the Super Bowl. Because you know what? Money and greed always take place of conviction on the left, don't they?
It isn't about hate. It's about responsibility and respect. I want my Latino and Boricua fans to understand that you're always in my heart. You can come see me in Puerto Rico or catch me in one of the other countries I'm visiting, but I can't, in good conscience, keep putting you at risk just to perform in the mainland US. I know for a lot of people, this feels like a sacrifice, but I want my stage to be a place of unity. My music is about love, about belonging. It's not supposed to be a reason to live in fear.
So that was Bad Bunny in his own words saying, it's not a reason, my music is not a reason to live in fear. I don't want my fans living in fear of ICE agents. I don't want you standing in line with your overpriced tickets. I don't want you in the merch line waiting to spend 200 pesos on a Bad Bunny hoodie, and all of a sudden, woo, ICE comes and snatches you away and you're gone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cease performing in the United States of America, except of course the Super Bowl, because who doesn't want to perform at Super Bowl halftime show? Who does not want to, other than Taylor Swift, evidently. Taylor Swift was the rumor. I always heard it was going to be Taylor Swift. The rumor was going to be Taylor Swift. The Swifties were all a chatter about how Taylor Swift, because, you know, she's getting engaged, or she got engaged to Travis Kelce. A lot of rumors that he's going to be retiring after this year. And so it would be the perfect time, it'd be the perfect coming together of Taylor and Travis and love and music and Super Bowl and football and America and yada, yada, blah. But apparently she turned it down. She wanted to do it. So they went to so after Taylor said no, they went to Bad Bunny, and they go, all right, let's get the Puerto Rican guy who hates America and refuses to perform in America, but maybe we can sway him with the option of the largest audience in history and a whole lot of money to boot. And you know what? It's going to work too. By the way, something else about Bad Bunny you may not know is he dresses like a woman. That's his big thing. He likes to dress like a girl. He likes to wear women's clothing. He likes to wear dresses when he's on stage. So he sings in Spanish. He wears women's clothes. He hates the United States of America. And that's who Roger Goodell and the NFL decide is the best performer for the Super Bowl halftime show. That's who Roger Goodell says hates America, despises ICE, thinks all his fans are illegal immigrants, doesn't speak English when he performs, and wears dresses. That's the guy. That's the guy. That's the NFL we want to represent to Americans. So that's who you're going to get. Now, again, I've not watched a Super Bowl halftime show in a very, very long time. I do watch the Super Bowl, but the halftime shows, really, I'll be honest with you, ever since The Weeknd, I think I've kind of been checked out. Also, I don't believe that they choose artists that all Americans can truly appreciate. And this definitely is a reflection of, here's Bad Bunny, by the way, in some kind of, looks like a wedding dress, which, fun fact, Taylor Swift may have actually worn this if she didn't perform. And that may be the thing. Taylor Swift turning this down, you may still see her wardrobe. It may be that Bad Bunny wears the clothes that Taylor Swift would have worn had she done the Super Bowl, because he's into, they both have similar fashion sense. I don't know when the Super Bowl, it's in February 11th or 7th or 7/11 or 6/7 or something like that. But whenever it is, it's going to be in San Francisco, and Bad Bunny will be performing. I don't know who's playing yet. I thought it might be the Packers, but they've lost to the Cleveland Browns and tied with the Dallas Cowboys in their last two games. So unless something changes dramatically in Green Bay, I don't think I don't think it's going to be the Packers. It may be the Jaguars because they know how to win in San Francisco. They did that yesterday. But again, this isn't a football show, and I'm not here to talk about football. We're here to talk about ice. Ice, baby. Do. I really would. I don't know who could do it. Who could create a whole channel of just ICE arresting people videos? If anybody out there wants to take this, I'll promote it. We can work out a deal. We're all promote it. Maybe you do the initial investment, you collect all the footage, that kind of thing, and then I'll go in and promote it. But I would love a 24/7, like Cops. Remember Cops? They used to show people, real life cops arresting real life perps, drug addicts and alcoholics and armed robbers and all that. They would show all the drugs and stuff that they would pull off their person, and they'd all be in wife beaters and that kind of thing. That was a great show, and there were times when Fox would just do these Cops marathons, and it would be over and over and over again for 24/7. You could do that. You could have a new show called ICE and just run it 24/7. It would be a ratings bonanza. It maybe launch it during the Super Bowl halftime show, so people that don't want to watch Bad Bunny speak in Spanish, wear women's clothing, and smack talk the president of the United States. Maybe they could have an alternative. They could go watch the ICE channel or the Puppy Bowl, which is also something I do enjoy as well. All right, let's talk a little bit about the government shutting down, shall we? If the government shuts down on Tuesday, is there anybody out there that really cares? The government is this close, and if you're watching, it's this close. If you're listening, I'm holding my thumb and my index finger about as close as I possibly can together without them actually touching. And I'm saying that the government is this close to shutting down on Tuesday. Now, a lot of folks think that neither side really wants the government to shut down, but that may not be the case. Both sides may actually want the government to shut down. Or another way to look at it is a lot of people think the Republicans don't want a government shutdown and the Democrats do, which is the common narrative, but it may be the other way around. It may be that the Democrats don't want a government shutdown and the Republicans are like, sure, shut it down. What do we care? We're the party in power. And I'll get to that here in just a minute. But basically, the government is shutting down because the Democrats are demanding a lot of spending be attached to the continuing resolution, which the Republicans have already passed in the House of Representatives. The Republicans passed almost unanimously a continuing resolution, what they call a clean CR, meaning it would allow the government to stay open for 7 more weeks, kicking that can down the road. And in those 7 weeks, we would go back to committee. We would go through appropriations. We would make sure that we have everything and all of our ducks in a row. And we would vote piece by piece for our spending packages. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, why couldn't they just do this and avoid the government shutdown? Well, because they had to take all of August off. Because everybody needs they had 6 weeks off. Think about that. They took 6 weeks off from August to September, and then they came back and said, we need 7 more weeks to do this appropriately with the appropriations committees. Why didn't they just stick around for 7 weeks, get this done, and then they could have taken all of September off? I wouldn't have cared. If you want a 6-month vacation, great. Stick around, do the work, and when the work is done, then go jet setting around the world on your vacations. But it's hurricane season, so they don't like to do that. They like to get their cruises and their Mediterranean fiestas out of the way before there's any inclement weather. So what they did is they came back, they said, all right, we need 7 more weeks to do our actual job. So in the House of Representatives, they voted almost unanimously, 217 yays to 2 nays. The 2 nays were, wait for it, Thomas Massie and Victoria Spartz from Indiana. Both of them are notorious for not wanting CRs. I'll be honest with you, I'm not a big CR fan either. I don't like a continuing resolution. When I'm in the House of Representatives, I'm going to be a no on continuing resolutions too, because I really feel like it's the Congress giving themselves permission to not do their job or to slack off. It's like begging the professor for another week to turn in your paper because you had some kind of problem or whatever, yada, yada, or you were watching Summer I Turned Pretty Marathon or whatever. Pardon me. I don't know what your lame excuse is, but I know you have one. Anyway, but so 2 votes against the CR. It passes through the House of Representatives, even though, get this, the Democrats all rallied to shut the government down. They voted against it. Every single Democrat, I think except one. Every single Democrat except one voted against the continuing resolution, which means every single Democrat except for one in the House of Representatives wants the government to shut down. But House Majority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, who's only the House Majority Leader in name. He's the House Majority Leader in name only. He's the H. Malino. He's the House Majority Leader in name only, because we all know the House Minority Leader, is AOC. We all know that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez runs the Democrat Party. We know she's the real minority leader in the House of Representatives, followed by Jasmine Crockett and the squad. Those are the people that run the Democrat Party. Hakeem Jeffries just happens to have his name on the door in the big office. But even though they all voted against it, he's claiming now that they're going to have a meeting today at the White House with President Donald Trump and John Thune and Chuck Schumer and Mike Johnson to hammer out a deal, to negotiate.
Our approach, and Leader Schumer and I are in lockstep. House Democrats, Senate Democrats are in lockstep. We're heading into the meeting to have a good faith negotiation about landing the plane in a way that avoids a government shutdown, but does not continue the Republican assault on the healthcare of the Americans.
Leader Jeffries.
Okay, they want to. That's a lie, by the way. They don't want to land the plane. They want to land the plane the way those female pilots landed that Delta plane in Alaska, where it like flipped upside down on the ice. That's how they want to land the plane. What's happening here is we're looking at a 7-week clean CR, a continuing resolution to keep the government funded for 7 weeks while Congress and the Senate go back and do the jobs they should have done 7 weeks ago. All right. No one's adding anything to it. No one's looking for any changes. No one's going to undo any legislation. But the Democrats are like, oh, we see an opportunity here. If we threaten to shut down the government, then maybe, just maybe, we can undo some of the things. We can undo some of the things that the Republicans did by popular vote, by mandate. Donald Trump was brought into the United States of America, brought back to the White House by the United States of America to cut down all of this radical spending, to doge the government, to protect the border, to send these illegal immigrant criminal aliens home, all of those things. That's what Donald Trump was elected to do, and that's what the Senate and the Congress and Donald Trump have been doing. And now the Democrats want to undo all of that. And the Republicans are like, no way.
There is nothing partisan about this continuing resolution. Nothing. We didn't add a single partisan priority or policy writer at all. We're operating completely in good faith to give more time. The only thing that would gut healthcare, using his own phraseology there, is if we took Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer's demand here, because they want to cut $50 billion from rural hospitals. That's the new fund that we added in the big, beautiful bill, the Working Families Tax Cuts that we passed just a couple months ago. They want to gut that. They also want to hold up all this funding that I listed. I mean, the WIC program is something that we all champion for women, infants, and children nutrition. That would be held up. So it's exactly the opposite of what Hakeem is talking about. The Obamacare subsidies is a policy debate that has to be determined by the end of the year, December 30th, not right now, while we're simply trying to keep the government open so we can have all these debates.
Yeah, and that's exactly what's happening. I mean, it's the Democrats wanting to pad it with pork. Here's Steve Scalise.
We passed a bill through the House to keep the government from shutting down. Hakeem actually whipped his members to shut the government down. He voted that way. But luckily, we were able to get the bill passed. So right now it's over in the Senate, and it's on Chuck Schumer and Democrats in the Senate to keep the government from shutting down. And I hope they'll come to their senses and do that early next week.
Yeah, that's not the clip I was looking for. I was looking for, there's so many. Maybe it's John Thune here. Oh, no, here's J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance, Vice President of the United States of America, President of the Senate. Here he is describing exactly what the stipulations are that the Senate wants in the bill in order to, and the Democrats in the House want in the bill in order to keep the government from shutting down.
Last question, Vice President. You know, this government shutdown issue looming next week. How do you see this? And are you opposed to a shutdown, or do you think there would be advantages to that potentially?
Well, look, we don't want to shut down the government, Martha, but it's really up to the Democrats. Under our system, you need 60 Senate Democrats to vote for the clean continuing resolution that the president and House Republicans have put forward. I think it's preposterous, Martha, and I think the American people really should pay attention to the fact that Democrats are threatening to shut down the entire government because they want to give hundreds of billions of dollars of health care benefits to illegal aliens. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen a political party actually advertising the fact that they want to shut down every essential function of government, and they want to use that as leverage so that they get more money for illegal alien health care benefits. It's such a stark contrast between Republicans who are trying to put the interests of the American people first and Democrats who I think would want to take money from the American people to give benefits to illegal aliens. We don't want to shut down the government, but if Democrats refuse to just pass this clean continuing resolution, that's exactly what's going to happen, and I think the Democrats are going to bear the responsibility for it.
All right, we'll see what happens. Vice President Vance, thank you very much. Good to have you with us on Fox News.
Yeah, so there you go. So that's JD Vance saying here's exactly what's going to happen. We don't want to shut down the government, but we also don't want the Democrats funding all of these things that we already cut. And that's exactly what the Democrats are trying to do. They're trying to fund programs that the Republicans have already cut out. And they're doing it because they know that their base is furious that they haven't stood up for, well, they haven't been able to stand up for any of the things that they really like illegal immigration and crime and giving illegal criminal aliens free healthcare and all that other stuff. Now, the interesting thing about this is that the Democrats actually don't want the government to shut down because they want to retake power in the House of Representatives and the Senate next year. And a government shutdown would not be beneficial to their chances of winning the House of Representatives and or the Senate. I don't believe that the Democrats are going to have the ability to sell this government shutdown on the Republicans, especially when the Republicans have already passed the clean CR in the House of Representatives, and the Republicans seem to have a majority of Republicans on board. Yes, Rand Paul is against it, but when it comes down to it, Rand Paul is, Rand Paul and Thomas Massie, they both have the right idea. And the right idea is not to vote for any more spending unless there's cuts. And the problem with this is there's no cuts. But definitely we're not going to add something back in. That's 100%. In fact, Rand Paul basically said, look, both parties suck.
I have to ask about the big topic that is consuming Capitol Hill right now. Of course, it's the possibility of a government shutdown. You were one of two Republicans who voted with Democrats opposing the government funding bill, Senator. Do you think the government is headed towards a shutdown?
I hope not, and I think it's disruptive to close the government down. The Republican plan would add $2 trillion to the deficit. The Democrat plan was going to add $3 trillion to the deficit. So this is my point. Both parties are terrible at addressing our deficit. We have a $37 trillion debt, $1 trillion in interest, and it's because both parties are terrible. So I'm not going to vote for the Republican plan or the Democrat plan. I think eventually they come together, but typically the compromise is to make things worse. The compromise through the years is the right gets more military spending, the left gets more welfare spending, and the deficit continues to explode. Our debt has been downgraded. Our AAA rating's been taken away.
Yeah.
There is unrest. And I do believe that we face serious problems as a country if we don't do something so simple as just start spending what comes in, balance our budget.
All right. Senator Rand Paul, thank you so much for your
perspective. I don't think that was the right clip. Hold on, I have it. I think it's this one here. That may have been an older one. Here we go.
I'm going to go now to the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, Senator Rand Paul, who joins us from Bowling Green, Kentucky. Good morning to you, Senator.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Well, I want to start on that news you just heard, that the president is basically expecting a shutdown and possibly to carry out these mass layoffs. Do you think all of this is just a threat to make Democrats fold?
Well, I think both sides have to look at the proposals for spending and decide, what is the best way forward for the country. The Republican proposal adds about $2 trillion in debt over the next year, so it'll be short $2 trillion. So I oppose the Republican plan because it adds debt. The Democrat plan would add $3 trillion in debt. So really both plans are laden with deficit spending. And I think that's the biggest problem that our country faces. So I've actually proposed an alternative. I've proposed a penny plan, which would cut a little bit across the board. And my plan would balance over about 5 years. We got a vote on mine last week, and 36 Republicans supported it, 16 didn't, and no Democrats did. So my plan didn't pass either. But the plan that I would support would be a plan that reduces spending and reduces deficit spending.
Yeah. All right. So that was basically the same thing, but he had a little bit more about his plan in there that he wanted passed. And the fact of the matter is, look, the deficit spending should not be increased on either side. But the interesting point about that was that Margaret Brennan brings up this idea, this threat by the Trump administration of massive layoffs. And this is why the Democrats are in a bad position. If the government shuts down, I'm pretty sure they'll be blamed. If the government also shuts down, Donald Trump's not going to be at all upset because he's going to send in Russ Vought and the rest of his team to pick and choose which departments and which jobs and which programs he can get rid of forever. Because during a government shutdown, he has the ability to go in there and control spending. And there's no oversight needed. There's no congressional approval. There's none of that. He can doge to his heart's content. Everything that Elon Musk wasn't able to do or anything that Russ Vought wants done, Donald Trump can now do. And it won't just be a furlough. It will be jobs lost for good. It won't just be shutting down the government. It will be slicing the size of the government. It'll be shaving down the government. It's going to be taking not even a file, but like a hatchet or that chainsaw that Elon Musk ran out on stage with at CPAC. It scared the bejesus out of everybody. That's going to be what happens. And we know that because, well, the New York Times tells us that, and we don't usually trust the New York Times, but in this case, I think they're pretty accurate because Russ Vought wants to do exactly that. They have a big profile on Russ Vought, the man behind Trump's push for an all-powerful presidency. But listen to what they say that he's going to do. By the way, he's the director of the White House Office of Management and Budget Office. But look at this. Russ Vought, they say he's an Elon Musk with actual policy behind it, which is actually a really good way to put it. Listen to what he's done. Now, as the government heads toward a shutdown, when federal funding lapses on Tuesday, Mr. Vought is leveraging the moment to further advance his goals of slashing agencies and purging employees with his office telling agencies to prepare for mass firings unless Congress can strike a deal to keep the government open. This summer, Russ Vought pressured lawmakers to enact his plan to cancel $9 billion for foreign aid and public broadcasting that they had previously approved, an unusual bow by Congress to the White House. The new law claimed another prize for conservatives, the death of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. And a deal Mr. Vought cut with House Republicans helped secure passage of Mr. Trump's domestic policy law that slashed spending on Medicaid and food stamps. So all of these policies that Donald Trump and the Republicans have been able to push through to, not only save the government money and stop funding these woke agencies like NPR and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and all this other BS, but it has helped shape government as a smaller, more manageable entity. And now with this looming shutdown, with the government shutdown, Russ Vought can go in there and just start hacking away at other things. He has spearheaded a push to erase hundreds of regulations on the environment, health, transportation, and food and worker safety, telling Mr. Trump at an August cabinet meeting that his efforts had led to 245 deregulatory initiatives this year. By the way, the New York Times thinks all of this is bad. The New York Times thinks, whoa, 245 deregulations? That's horrible. This is all good news. You want smaller government. Donald Trump wants smaller government, and Russ Vought is his, like Elon Musk in a tie. Is what this guy is. He's Elon Musk with, the degrees necessary to actually get this done. He's got all Elon Musk just rolled through with big balls and a bunch of computer hackers and said, cut this, cut that. Russ Vought actually has spreadsheets and whatnot and is doing a bang up job. He has asserted White House power over independent agencies like the Federal Reserve, champion an executive order that forced them to submit their regulatory actions to his office for approval. As the acting head of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the agency charged with enforcing rules to protect people from predatory financial practices, he halted nearly all of the agency's work and sought to fire 90% of its staff. The next step in the fight is a legally untested maneuver in which the Trump administration would cancel another $4.9 billion in foreign aid spending, this time without congressional approval. The gambit, known as a pocket rescission, involves the White House eliminating the spending unless Congress votes to stop it by September 30th, the end of the fiscal year. So this is now what either, and this is big because now it's the Democrat, the New York Times is pushing this agenda on the Democrats because only Democrats read the New York Times. But basically they're saying, look, if Donald Trump keeps the government open, if the Democrats vote to keep the government open, if they vote for this clean CR, then Donald Trump wins, the Republicans win. There's no government shutdown. The Democrats have no leg to stand on. They can't come in and say the Republicans shut down the government because they didn't. And if the government does get shut down, then Donald Trump can come in and he can cut another $4.9 billion in foreign aid spending because government shut down. There's no one there to tell him he can't. It's really, really incredible. The threat has enraged many lawmakers, including some Republicans. Senator Susan Collins, the chairwoman of the Appropriations Committee, called it illegal. But as the deadline is near, they have done nothing to stop it. Mr. Vogt is confident that the White House would win a Supreme Court battle over the moves to stop spending, according to his associates. He is lining up the billiard shots, getting each ball in place one by one for each consecutive move, said Grover Norquist, the anti-tax activist. For the leaders of Mr. Trump's Make America Great Again movement, Mr. Vogt is seen as the disciplined architect who channeled the passion of MAGA into an actionable policy blueprint. Think about that. Again, they think this is an insult. For the leaders of Mr. Trump's Make America Great Again movement, Mr. Vogt is seen as the disciplined architect who channeled the passion of MAGA into an actionable policy blueprint. The slain activist Charlie Kirk, whose podcast was one of many where Mr. Vogt regularly shared his views with the Republican base, called Mr. Vogt an absolute rock star. There's nothing bad that comes from a government shutdown. The government will save money either way. A government shutdown reflects poorly on the Democrats and gives President Donald Trump the power of rescission cuts to the tune of $4.9 billion or even more dollars in foreign aid spending. It's really, really incredible. Plus, let's be honest, any of these furloughed employees, I mean, we've all lived through government shutdowns before. Any of these other furloughed employees, they get their money back at the end when they come back to work. They all get that, yes, they have to take a little hiatus until Congress gets their act in gear, but then they all get their money back at the end of the day. And nobody really, there's so many emergency management, essential personnel that have to continue to work. There's people during government shutdowns that are mad that their office doesn't get shut down. Donald Trump may change that. John Fetterman, by the way, the only Democrat with half a brain, literally, is because he get half of it conked out on him during the election. John Fetterman is the only Democrat so far that's come forward and said, I'm not going to vote for shutdowns are bad.
Where are you on this issue, and do you expect a government shutdown Tuesday night?
Where I'm at, where I've always been, and I will always remain on, is it is always, always wrong to shut our government down. That is a core responsibility. I'm always going to vote against those things.
Look at that. That's John Fetterman. That's John Fetterman, who used to be a Democrat, is now saying, I'm always against shutting the government down. That's a core responsibility we have. That is a core we have to keep our government open no matter what. And so there he is saying, hey, look, so if Rand Paul votes against it, John Fetterman will vote for it. So they'll offset. We just need a handful. I think it's like 6. Is that right here? Wait, here's John Thune with the exact number.
All right, let's talk about the big battle over government funding. We're just 2 days away, Leader, as you know, from a potential government shutdown. The president did cancel a planned meeting with Democratic leaders. The House doesn't plan to be in session until after the shutdown deadline. Is the government going to shut down this week, Leader Thune?
Totally up to the Democrats. The ball is in their court. There is a bill sitting at the desk in the Senate right now. We could pick it up today and pass it that has been passed by the House that will be signed into law by the president to keep the government open. So this decision, in my judgment, at this point in time, is up to a handful of Democrats. We need 8 Democrats to pass it through the Senate, something that 13 times, when the Democrats had the majority over the last 4 years and President Biden was in the White House, Republicans helped Democrats do. 13 different times we did continuing resolutions in the Democrat majority, and in every case they passed. And what the Democrats have done here is take the federal government as a hostage, and for that matter, by extension, the American people, to try and get a whole laundry list of things that they want, that special interest groups on the far left are pushing them to accomplish, and using a 7-week funding resolution, which is designed to give us time to do the normal appropriations process. They're using this hostage to try and get all these other things done. It's a very straightforward
Okay,
argument.
so there he is. So he's saying it's 8. They need 8. But here's the problem. He says we need 8 Democrats, but you also need all of the Republicans. Yes, you need 8 Democrats. That is not an untrue statement, but you also need all of the Republicans, and that includes Rand Paul. And you may not have Rand Paul if Rand Paul decides that he doesn't like this particular CR. You may not have Rand Paul if he decides that he wants his spending cuts for any and all rescissions. I'm sorry, for any and all continuing resolutions on spending for the next 7 weeks. You may also lose Susan Collins, although probably not, because she doesn't have the gumption. The other thing is that there is a I guess you would say a movement or an idea that what was I going to say? Oh yeah, that this is being pushed up again. Like Republicans aren't going to like the 7-week term limit or term for the CR because it pushes right up against Thanksgiving. And at Thanksgiving time, you know what happens is all of a sudden people want to get this thing pushed through because it's Thanksgiving and it's the holidays and people want to buy their turkeys and their pumpkin pie and they want to go Black Friday shopping and they don't have to want to worry about their jobs. So what happens is if you push it up 7 weeks and it's right before the Thanksgiving deadline, then all of a sudden, guess what? Everybody's going to vote the way that the Republicans want or that Donald Trump wants, or everyone's going to feel pressured because they don't want to go into the holidays, with a government shutdown looming. Speaking of Hollywood, which I accidentally alluded to moments ago, there's a new ban or a new tariff on all movies that aren't made in Hollywood, which people are totally freaking out about. And I'll get to that here in just a minute, but I wanted to share with you a post that President Donald Trump put up on his Truth Social account. And it was about gold. Listen, look at this. Donald Trump, I don't know if you know this, but if you haven't seen the Oval Office lately, it is a totally different Oval Office. It is covered. It is gilded. It is perfect for the new golden age. Donald Trump's Oval Office has gold everywhere. And he posted a little video on Truth Social. In fact, you know what? Maybe let me go to Truth Social and pull this up because that way you can really see how exciting it was. But here he is. Where's the gold thing that he posted? He posted this. No, not here. I may have to go back. It may have been a couple days. He posts a lot, by the way, on Truth Social. I don't know if you've ever been on Truth Social, but if you follow, here it is. So Donald Trump posted this on Truth Social. He wrote, some of the highest quality 24 karat gold used in the Oval Office and cabinet room of the White House. And it's just video of all this gold, 24 karat gold inlay and gold medallions and gold, gilded decor that I guess they're posting up or that they've already put up in the White House, in the cabinet room in the Oval Office. He says foreign leaders and everyone else freak out when they see the quality and beauty. Best Oval Office ever in terms of success. And look, President DJT. And President Donald Trump, he's a big fan of gold for a couple of reasons. Because A, he knows that gold denotes, when people think about gold, they think about luxury. When people think about gold, they think, oh, here's somebody that is, clearly above board. Here's somebody who has a lot of value. If you have a gold design or if you have gold in your White House, it seems like you're doing okay. And, it's all about brand building. Donald Trump wants the brand of the United States of America to be one of luxury and status. And gold is both luxurious and holds a lot of status. Also, it's very valuable. In fact, it continues to go up. It's up over 25%. It's up over 25% since President Donald Trump took office in January. And that's why so many people are going to Augusta Precious Metals, sponsor of the Mark Kaye Saves the Republic podcast, and investing in gold. Why? Well, because gold is, like I said, it's a very valuable resource. It is something that is a commodity. It is something that is a safe haven, investment. And Augusta Precious Metals is one of the best, if not the best, at making sure that your gold investment is getting you the highest return and protecting your assets, your savings. If you have an IRA, you should really consider a gold and precious metals IRA from Augusta Precious Metals. Why? Well, because at Augusta Precious Metals, they know, first of all, they only deal with people who are serious. If you have $100,000 in an IRA or a 401k or just sitting around in cash somewhere or Bitcoin, they can help you work to protect that investment and to make sure that your investment grows in a safe haven like a gold IRA or a precious metals IRA. They have multiple 5-star reviews. They have tons of fantastic reviews from the Better Business Bureau, a 4.9 A+ rating. And they have tons of 5-star reviews from other periodicals. Now, if you're interested, go to getmarksgold.com. Getmarksgold.com. They'll give you a free guide. You just put in your information. They'll send you the free guide, and they'll help you choose the best precious metal investment to protect your long-term savings, your finances, and your family's future. Go to getmarksgold.com today. And then your IRA can look like Donald Trump's White House, which how cool would that be? How cool that would just be totally amazing. All right, so Donald Trump is going after Hollywood. You know, the tariffs have been so successful in every aspect of Donald Trump's administration. The economy is booming. The tariff revenue is in the billions. And so President Donald Trump is targeting a couple of other industries that have been hurt by I guess you would say the exporting of American labor to other countries. And one of them is the furniture industry. Now, I grew up in North Carolina. I grew up in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And you're thinking to yourself, Mark, hey, what does Winston-Salem, North Carolina know about furniture? Well, we don't. We know a lot about cigarettes and tobacco. I grew up down the street from the R.J. Reynolds tobacco factory. I went to R.J. Reynolds High School, where, fun fact, you could not smoke on campus, which I thought was kind of ironic. I would wake up every day, walk outside my house, and I would smell the cured tobacco from the factory just permeating every single inch of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And it's amazing. I mean, it was amazing. And of course, it was the lifeblood of the industry. And then this is kind of funny. Ironically, the second biggest industry that we had was the medical industry. And we had a huge cancer prevention facility that was funded and paid for by Bowman Gray and Wake Forest. So we had the cigarette factory on one side of town and the cancer research factory on the other side of town. And we kind of joked that, they kind of fed into each other. It was like perfect. It doesn't matter. So that's Winston-Salem, North Carolina. But right down the road is High Point. And High Point was the furniture capital of the world. Now I say was, because a lot of that furniture has now been exported. The jobs have been taken overseas. And President Donald Trump says, look, in order to make North Carolina, which has completely lost its furniture business to China and other countries, great again, I will be imposing substantial tariffs on any country that does not make its furniture in the United States. Details to follow. President DJT. So if you want furniture from China, it's going to be tariffed. If these Chinese furniture companies want to continue to sell furniture in the United States of America, they're welcome to, but they have to actually physically make the furniture here in the United States of America. Just like the automobiles, just like everything else. You can sell whatever you want, but you got to make it here in the United States of America. He also posted something about the movie industry, the film industry. Look at this. This is for California. Any Californians out there who don't like Donald Trump, any of you Hollywood elites who feel like Donald Trump is not your president, he's looking out for you too. Our movie making business has been stolen from the United States of America by other countries, just like stealing candy from a baby. California, with its weak and incompetent governor, has been particularly hard hit. Therefore, in order to solve this long-time, never-ending problem, I will be imposing a 100% tariff on any and all movies that are made outside of the United States. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. President Donald J. Trump. Now, you would think that Californians, especially say, elected officials in California whose job is it supposedly to represent hardworking men and women in the California film industry, you would think that someone like that would be excited by Donald Trump. It would be excited by President Donald Trump trying to save the film industry, but they are not. Why? Well, because it was Donald Trump's idea. And in fact, Adam Schiff, who somehow finds himself a senator from California, reposted President Donald Trump's demand that all movies be made in the United States or be tariffed out the wazoo. And he said, I strongly support bringing movie making back to California and the U.S. Congress should pass a bipartisan, globally competitive federal film incentive to bring back production and jobs rather than levy a tariff that could have unintended and damaging consequences. We have an opportunity to pass a major federal film tax credit. I'm ready to work with this administration and my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to get it done. So Adam Schiff, who, let's be honest, probably gets a lot of money from China, probably gets a lot of money from these foreign countries, India, to look the other way when it comes to filmmaking. He's like, you know what? Let's just do an incentive rather than levy a tariff, because a tariff could have unintended and damaging consequences. Yeah, like he's not going to get as much money from China for not fighting against the removal of the film industry. He's not going to get as much money from foreign studios who pay him probably to shut up and pay Gavin Newsom to shut up about the jobs of hardworking Californians being outsourced. Donald Trump is trying to fight for Californians, and Adam Schiff is literally fighting against them, and he's doing it publicly. This guy is on record on X publicly saying, I do not support Donald Trump putting tariffs on movies that are made overseas. Why? He hates California that much. You would think that anybody who tries to save the number one industry in your state, like, for example, our number one industry here in Florida is tourism. And if Donald Trump came in and said, I am going to say that all theme parks, well, that doesn't really work because you have to physically go to a theme, but you get the whole point. If Donald Trump said, I'm going to save tourism, then Florida would love him. We already do. Fun fact. That's not really a concern. But, it's the same if it was bourbon. Well, again, bourbon's only made in Kentucky. You can't make bourbon. Fun fact, bourbon has to be made in Kentucky. If it's made anywhere else, it can't be bourbon. So that was a bad example too. But again, the whole point is Adam Schiff's an idiot. Not that we needed any more proof of that, but just in case you were wondering, there is more proof of that. They're also now, the Democrats on the left, and by the way, this is the entertainment industry. This is an industry, I assume, Roger Friedman's Showbiz 411. This is an industry insider magazine. And these are people in Hollywood whose jobs apparently are being shipped out overseas, fighting Donald Trump on keeping the jobs here in the United States of America. He writes, Trump announces 100% tariff on all movies made outside the United States, presumably including Mel Gibson's new Christ saga. Mel Gibson, Donald Trump's Hollywood ambassador, will have trouble with his latest movie. Trump has announced a 100% tariff on all movies made outside the United States. Gibson is shooting his two-part Passion of the Christ sequel, and it's not in Altoona. Shooting is set for Rome, other locations in Italy, Morocco, and Israel. It's a two-part movie that is costing Gibson, a Hollywood pariah, hundreds of millions of dollars. Trump knows nothing about the movie business, but he likes to make random declarations which have to be walked back later. I can't wait to hear how Passion of the Christ 2 will get some exemption from Trump, who's obviously forgotten that cronies like Jon Voight and Sylvester Stallone also make movies abroad. Another movie this will likely affect, Christopher Nolan's Odyssey, shooting in Greece, Morocco, Sicily, and the United Kingdom. There are plenty more too, and who will pay for it? Moviegoers. Just like people who like to eat are paying for higher grocery bills. Donald Trump's latest insane rant on Truth Social, and then it goes into Donald Trump's insane rant about saving the industry that all these people make their living off of. It's just a totally new level of Trump derangement syndrome for these folks to now openly attack President Donald Trump when he's trying to save their industries. He could very easily just say, you know what? Hey, Hollywood, you're on your own. You guys didn't vote for me. California's been going blue for years. You've been shipping these jobs overseas. Gavin Newsom's your governor. You picked him twice. You had the chance to recall him and you didn't. So screw you. You guys obviously like this stuff. He could have done that. But no, he knows that all Americans need to be protected, even the ones that didn't vote for him. And that's why he's fighting to save their jobs. And the Democrats are fighting against him. It's really a bizarre. I've never seen anything like this in my entire life. I've been around for a while, but it's really wild how hated this president is, to the point where even when he tries to save Democrat jobs, the Democrats attack him. If Adam Schiff were drowning in the Potomac, right? If Adam Schiff were walking along the Potomac looking for a camera, because that's what he likes. He likes to find cameras and yell at them. And he slipped, and like maybe there was some fresh paint on the ground where someone was spraying, I don't know, a pride flag, whatever. And he slips and he fell into the Potomac, and he was getting washed away by the current. And President Donald Trump was flying over in Marine One, and he told the pilot, circle back. We got to get Schiff. And he flew the helicopter to where Adam Schiff was floating down the Potomac and threw down a rope and said, grab the rope. Adam Schiff would say, no, a rope is the wrong answer. Your rope is not the best way to save me. And he would argue with them and then, drown, which again, wouldn't be a horrible. I'm just kidding. It's horrible. It's always horrible when Democrats drown in the Potomac. I'm not saying it happens often. I don't know where the bodies, I don't know where they throw them. I assume there's probably a couple. I'm just saying, I don't know. I can neither confirm nor deny the existence of Democrat corpses in, around, or on the bottom of the Potomac River. But like I said, it gets dark there at night, and that is a raging river, that Potomac, and it's got to be. Yeah, you know what? Never mind. We'll get back to something else. Now, President Donald Trump is currently with Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu's at the White House, and they're talking, I assume, about the war in Gaza. They're talking, I assume, about stopping the war in Gaza. Maybe they're discussing why Bad Bunny has been chosen to be the performer at the halftime show. Maybe that's something that he's trying to shed some light on. But the fact that they're supposedly coming out here for a joint press conference. And a joint press conference with Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu should be very telling. There's been a lot of back and forth now, and there's been a lot of demonization of Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu specifically in the Republican Party. In fact, what used to be a Democrat, I guess you would say chasm, or a Democrat crack. I'm not talking about Hunter Biden, but there was a crack in the Democrat Party, and that was the crack between the pro-Israel and the pro-Palestine Democrats. And now it seems like there's a similar crack being pushed by certain factions of the Republican Party. There are certain factions in the Republican Party that are pro-Israel. There are certain factions in the Republican Party that aren't necessarily pro-Palestine, but don't believe that Israel is the ally that we believe it is, or should be the ally that we make it out to be. There are a lot of Republicans who are outspoken about Benjamin Netanyahu and their belief that he's not the best ally for President Donald Trump or the United States of America. So like I said, there's a lot of back and forth. And it appears that every time Benjamin Netanyahu comes to the White House, or President Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu speak with each other, there's always some kind of backlash. There's always something that erupts, and there's going to be factions on either side. So I'm curious to see here. They're going to start in just a minute. So I'm going to hang out a little bit because I do want to hear the beginnings of this, to hear what they talk about. And then, of course, it should be very fascinating to hear what questions whenever Donald Trump gets a question, it's always fascinating. There will be questions about the government shutdown, I assure you. There will be questions about the war in Gaza. There will probably be questions about Ukraine. There may even be questions about this proposal by Donald Trump to tariff the film industry. Only time will tell, but that's going to be starting here very shortly. So we do want to let you know about that. Also, something else that I want to let you know about is tomorrow night, we're doing something called Podcast Profits Pro. And I wrote an email today because, I was thinking, I hear this all the time now. I hear people say, I am Charlie Kirk, right? Ever since President Trump announced that Charlie Kirk had been shot, it's been over 2 weeks now. It's crazy. There was a hearing earlier today, but people are always saying, I am Charlie Kirk. And Charlie Kirk was a very unique individual. And most people are not Charlie Kirk, but they could be. And the thing that Charlie Kirk did was he created this mission. He had this mission that he developed at a very young age. And most people don't. Most people, they don't get their missions until later in life. But Charlie Kirk was able to create this mission or find his personal mission early in life. And that was to spread Christianity, make heaven crowded, and also promote and protect the American idea of a family, of a Christian family, man, woman, children. He wanted to make getting married and having kids cool again. And so he went out and he found an audience. And the way he found an audience was by setting up a card table at a college campus and putting a question on a piece of paper and sitting there with a microphone until people came up and talked to him. And he did. And what happened was he built an audience. He built an audience 1-on-1 and then 5-on-5 and then, or 1-on-5 and then 1-on-10. And then he'd go to more college campuses and more people would find him. And then he started putting these things on TikTok and on Instagram and everywhere else. And he started to grow and grow and grow. And that was it. And he grew his audience. And then he offered them the opportunity. And the opportunity was to join him. It was join TPUSA. It was, hey, I've got this organization. If you like what I'm saying, if you vibe with what I'm saying, and if you want to help me spread the word of Christianity, of moral living, of Jesus-like behavior, of Christ-like, lifestyles, if you want to help me promote, family values and not drinking or smoking or having premarital sex and making sure that we protect marriage and the family. If you want to combat the evil out there that's fighting against all of that, then come join me. So he had a mission. He had an audience and an opportunity. And that's really how all great people do great things. They have a mission, they seek out an audience, and then they offer them something in the form of an opportunity. Now, I've been doing Podcast Profits Live for about, it seems like a year now almost. And every week we have people that come in and they want to learn how to monetize their podcast. But something that's deeper that we see from folks is the money's like secondary to a lot of people. Even to me, like I do these podcasts because yes, it funds my lifestyle. It supports my family. It's, my financial plan for the future. But also, I do this stuff before I even got paid for this podcast. I did this podcast. I've been doing this podcast. I almost got fired from my radio job for doing the podcast before they said, you know what, you should probably just do your podcast on the radio. So there's a lot of passion that goes into this daily program, both my daily programs. And I would still do it even if it wasn't a financial even if it wasn't a financial outlet for me. But a lot of people, they do that. They want to start their social media account or their podcast, or they want to start building an audience because they're passionate about something. They have a mission, just like Charlie Kirk did. They just don't have an audience or an opportunity. And what we find when we do Podcast Profits Live is most people that come there, the money's secondary, the mission is primary. So and it's good for it's free, first of all. So if you are somebody that's been walking around going, I am Charlie Kirk, but deep down you're not doing the things that he used to do, but you want to, this is a great opportunity for you. If you're somebody who's walking around going, I have something I'm passionate about, I have something I want people to know about, I have something I'd like to get out there, but I don't know how to build an audience and I don't know what opportunity I could offer them if I even did, this is awesome for you. And if you're somebody who's like, look, I have a business and I need to make more money, and I think podcasting would be a great way to do it, this is perfect for you. We cover all of those things and it's free and it's tomorrow night. So if you're interested in joining me, Podcast Profits Pro is the website, podcastprofitspro.com. Go there right now, sign up. It's a free event. It starts at 8 o'clock, tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Tuesday, September 30th. It lasts about an hour. And we'll roll through how to launch a podcast, how to make it a money-making podcast, how to do it in just 1 hour. You don't need a studio. You don't need tech skills. You don't need a huge online following. It's my proven system that I use every single day. And I'm going to give it to you so you can produce your own podcast. You can have multiple streams of income. You can reach that audience you've always wanted to reach. You can offer them the opportunity you've always wanted to offer them, and you can grow and go after your mission on earth, whatever that happens to be. Podcast Profits Pro. There's a link in the description of this video, by the way. If you want to just click on that link, you can get there and you can sign up. But that is tomorrow night. Don't miss it, because it is really fantastic. And this week's is going to be, I think, probably one of the best ones. One of the best ones they're all amazing, but this one's probably going to be one of the best ones ever that we've ever had. And I hope to see you there. And again, there's no charge for it at all. You just come in and you hang out, and it's going to be awesome. I believe, let me pull, what do I do here? I mess this up. I believe we're still waiting on President Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu. They're having talks about Gaza. And they're going to come out and they're going to speak, and we'll listen to the Q&A. We'll listen to the questions that they're being asked. We'll hear if they've made any headway on this. There is, of course, the hostage idea. There's a lot of people have been talking about whether or not Israel will be allowed to annex the West Bank, and President Donald Trump has said absolutely not. It is a tightrope that they're always constantly walking. But they're going to make sure but they are very close and they have a good relationship. And it's something, again, that everybody's going to want, to see a culmination of. Donald Trump is not, again, a warmonger. The Republican Party loaded with warmongers. Donald Trump is not one of them. And even in not being a warmonger, he's been able to politically navigate amongst the warmongers to get what he wants and get what he wants done. For example, Lindsey Graham is a huge warmonger, but he's also a huge kiss ass. And he kisses Donald Trump's ass probably more than anyone else. Why? Because Donald Trump has figured out a way to not be a warmonger, but still appease Lindsey Graham when he needs to, so that Lindsey Graham isn't a fly in the ointment. Same thing with John Thune. Same thing with a ton of these these Republicans who tell you they have America's best interests at heart, but don't necessarily show you they have America's best interests at heart. People like John Rutherford, for example, who is our congressman for now, but won't be for long, who tells you all the time, oh yeah, we're fighting for Americans. We're fighting for our military. I see him all the time talking about the military, yet he funds endless wars, and he makes a pretty good profit off of it too. He makes millions and millions of dollars off of these wars. He makes millions and millions of dollars off of, well, for example, Ukraine. I don't know how much money he's making off of Gaza, but I know this. He's been very quiet about it. He hasn't said anything at all about the war in Gaza. He hasn't said fun fact, he doesn't say anything at all about anything. Guy doesn't hold any press conferences. Guy doesn't go on the news. He doesn't hold any town halls. I'm sure there's a lot of representatives out there just like John Rutherford who are the same way. But this guy has made a living off of war. And that is something that Donald Trump does not do and refuses to do. And he's navigating here's, by the way, while we're waiting, here's one of my favorite clips from Matt Gaetz taking the blaze around the Capitol building and zeroing in on John Rutherford's office.
So one of the committees where people have a lot of information is the Appropriations Committee, because they can view almost any vector of government funding. And so, this is Mr. Rutherford's office. He's on the Ethics Committee and the Appropriations Committee. 152 stock trades. Stocks go through the roof. And, actually bought Raytheon stock the day that Russia invaded Ukraine.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, imagine if every American could make money off of war.
Yeah, setting aside the whole shame and ethics questions. How many more on our hit list here?
There are a few more. I wish there were fewer on the hit list. I wish we could only stop at one or two offices, but as it turns out, energy is a sector that sees a lot of congressional stock trading.
Sure.
And we have members who are on the Energy Subcommittee of Appropriations, like Michael Guest, chairman of the Ethics Committee, and he's traded somewhere between tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars in energy stocks. He's been buying online gaming stocks and just making a killing on them. So you would think that the people that were on the Ethics Committee would be your best allies in this fight, but indeed they're some of the most prolific traders. And not only trading, but in the case of Mr. Guest, trading in an area where he has access to energy information more so than almost any other American.
And no indication that he wants to maybe slow down, pump the brakes, recognize that there might be some appearance of impropriety here?
It seems as though the pace is only accelerating.
All right.
Look at that. The pace is, I miss Matt Gaetz, by the way. The pace is only accelerating for a lot of these people, and that's why we're looking for changes, not just in the Congress, but also in the Republican Party. We need to make sure we have the right Republicans in charge. We need to make sure we have the right Republicans in positions of power.
So one of the committees where people have a lot of information is the Appropriations Committee.
Let's go back. Is we have the right people in power, and we have the right people who are fighting back against the lunatic Democrats and the rhino Republicans to make sure that we actually get stuff done. By the way, Jon Ossoff, who's from Georgia, this guy, speaking of actors in Hollywood, this is a Hollywood actor a failed Hollywood actor, because I know what you're thinking. I never heard of Jon Ossoff. No one did either. But he went back to Georgia and he ran for Senate and he won, supposedly. And now he's admitting, get this, on some podcast, I forget which one it was, he's admitting that he knew about Joe Biden's mental decline. Listen to this.
We just didn't listen to the mounds and mounds of data that was out there. I think that like the most brutally honest answer to that question is, when you're facing the specter of Donald Trump potentially being reelected to the presidency, and you have in the sitting president the presumptive nominee, it's understandable that you're not going to be inclined to do or say things that might weaken that presumptive nominee against Trump, given the threat that he posed and poses. But
so there we go. So Jon Ossoff is saying, hey, look, Donald Trump was this specter. He's this evil, dark specter that we were all scared of. We didn't. The last thing any of us wanted on the left was President Donald Trump to return to office because we knew we'd all go to jail, like James Comey's about to do. But at the same time, Joe Biden, that's a flawed candidate. That guy's weak. That guy's horrible. That guy's awful. So we didn't want Donald Trump. We couldn't do anything to weaken Joe Biden. So what do? You don't really want to say anything against him, even if you know his mental acuity is kaput, even if you know that he's physically unable to do the job, even if you know that he's bumbling around and forgetting names and tripping over things and God knows what else he's doing in private, even if you know he's not suitable to do the job and that there are people talking about using the 25th Amendment against him and that his own party had to stab him in the back and force him to step down because he wasn't gonna. Even if you know all of these things, you're not going to come out and say anything because you don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to be the one that gets Donald Trump elected. That's exactly what he was saying. He was like, we don't want any Democrats out there to say anything bad about Joe Biden, even though we all knew Joe Biden was bad. We knew Joe Biden was a bad candidate. We knew Joe Biden was the worst candidate. Every single Democrat knew that. And we said squat. Diddly squat. Why? Well, because we did not want to be the ones to get the specter of Donald Trump reelected. Well, Donald Trump got reelected anyway.
We just didn't
where'd my camera? Hang on. Where's my camera? Where'd I go? There I am. Wait, that's not. That's bad. But why is Bad Bunny back? Hang on. There we go. We did not want Donald Trump to get reelected, and anything we would do to weaken Joe Biden and help President Donald Trump was scoffed at. And Jon Ossoff, look, he knows he's hanging on by a thread anyway. Being a Democrat senator from Georgia, that's something that is not a lifelong appointment. Between Raphael Warnock and Jon Ossoff, one or both of them could go the way of the dodo before you know it, because nobody is going to want these guys hanging around, especially when the Republicans have the majority, especially when the Republicans are looking to advance what they're looking to advance, which is more seats in the House, more seats in the Senate, and Donald Trump's agenda in the next few years. We will, let's see, White House releases new details on peace plan for Gaza. Oh, that's a plus. And then it looks like I don't know if we're going to have this press conference or not anytime soon. What we're going to do is I'm going to go into our Patriot Club meeting, which is our extended hour of Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. It's for Patriot Club members only. If you're not a Patriot Club member, it's really easy to do. Just go to patriots.com. And for $10 a month, you can join and be part of our after party show. You can join, be part of our after party. You can come in and you can, there's a Q&A feature. There's extended stuff. Like today, we're going to go over this whole press conference, which will be very exciting. And if you'd like to watch, if you'd like to be a member, like I said, just go to patriots.com. It's $10 a month. If you buy a year in advance, you get 2 months free. which is really exciting. Otherwise, thank you so much for subscribing to the show today. Thanks so much for watching and setting the notifications and letting everybody know this is content that I want every single day. Thanks for listening on Spotify and iTunes and wherever you happen to be. Keep listening. Listen every single chance you get, because we have more information, more entertainment, more inspiration, more enlightenment, more of everything coming your way. And we do it every day because that's the only way we're going to stay sharp. That's the only way we're going to keep our wits about us and our weapons intact, because we are going to need to continue to fight so we can save the Republic. Press conference during the after party. Go to